It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, folks, Konica Minolta had another presser. Konica Minolta Business Solutions USA. Their leader calls another presser. They call these pressers when they reach out to some of the industry's media and analysts and say, hey, jump on a call. We're going to share some news with you. Of course, I think the only people they bring to their pressers are the industry's media and analysts, well, that just won't ask them any questions. They're looking for propagandists. In other words, hey, we're going to have this presser. We're going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to write it down, put it in your blog, and that's the end of it. Don't be asking us any questions. We're not going to answer them if you ask them. I mean, that's got to be what's going on. You know what? Here's what I'll do. Konica Minolta, I will volunteer to go to your next presser. Seriously, reach out to me. I know you got my email, right? You can get a hold of me. Reach out to me. I'd love to go to your next presser. But just remember, if I'm there, I'm going to ask you some damn questions, okay? Because I got to tell you, folks, I'm seeing some, postings out there on social media about this presser coming from the analysts. And then I'm seeing some, people that have been in the industry for a long damn time, sharing these press releases, talking about how fantastic it is. And I'm thinking, what the hell is so fantastic about the new dealer agreement at Konica Minolta? So without any further ado, let's jump on this big, gigantic, sharp, interactive board. I want to share some thoughts with you. So what I did is I took this ENX magazine article, because they were one of the people at the presser, and I put the article in boxes on the big, gigantic, sharp, interactive board, and then the stuff in red is my thoughts on what's in the box. And so we kind of got to go through this. It could take a little bit of time, but I think it's important. Sam Arago has heard the criticism regarding the high cost involved in obtaining net new business. But the president and CEO of Konica Minolta Business Solutions knows it's the price to be paid for entering a competitive market to gain more market share. And meaningful growth is foremost on Arago's mind. When I read that first paragraph, well, I'm thinking this. It's a proclamation that KM US leader is realigning dealer agreements based on losing money but avoiding dealers complaining about it. That's kind of what I'm thinking right off the bat. Let me read the second paragraph. If all you do is churn your base, this is what we know to be true, Arago said during the April 4th press conference with industry media. The next transaction that you make will be less than the previous transaction in terms of the number of units and revenue. Well, that's pretty much common knowledge across our whole industry. Everything we sell is going to sell for less than the contract before, and of course the annuity is going to be less because people print less tomorrow than they do today. Everybody knows that. I would say this regarding print/MFP placements. It does not matter whether it's net new or flipping your own base. Every placement will be less revenue on hardware and less revenue on service and supplies, and unfortunately higher cost to deliver. It seems KM obsession in growing hardware myth is out of alignment with all the IT services KM leaders proclaim they are knocking it out of the park with. And I wanted to bring that up because I'm reading this article in ENX magazine about this presser, and they never once mentioned IT services. And this is the problem with Konica Minolta. I think it's been the problem with Konica Minolta since they bought All Covered, 14 years ago. They are 100% a product-centric company that believes they're delivering services. So when it's important for them to talk about services, they talk about services and they say they're knocking it out of the park. But then the reality is, let's move some more boxes. We got to get our myth bigger. We got to make some changes to get our myth bigger. You see, there's a little bit of a insanity going on here? I can't be the only one that sees it, right? Let's continue. In the box again. With clicks continuing to dwindle and the on-again, off-again state of President Trump's trade tariffs, Konica Minolta revealed a few announcements that are aimed at enabling its reseller community to be more competitive. One is a new dealer agreement replacing the previous 10-year-old accord that will sunset June 30th. And another is an interterritorial program that will initially cover KM branch-to-dealer agreements. Boy, that's kind of interesting. Let me read the next paragraph. Laura Blackmare, president of Dealer Sales, gave an overview of both initiatives. The dealer agreement, which was shared with the reseller partners the day before the presser, effectively wipes out territorial boundaries that previously governed dealers in favor of an authorized program. Dealers can now step outside their previous territories as long as they have certified Konica Minolta technicians local to that new region being targeted. Boy, there's a lot in those two paragraphs. But here's what I'm thinking, it's in red. Is Konica Minolta positioning to dump KM branches? Think about that. Is Konica Minolta acknowledging that mega dealers are their future? And the reason I bring that up is this. Let's start as Konica Minolta positioning to dump KM branches. Well, folks, if you're going to dump your branches and you're going to dump them to maybe, let's just say, a mega dealer, well, they did that already once before, and that mega dealer was Dex Imaging, right? Well, if they're going to dump them, and let's say Dex Imaging picks up all the rest of the direct operations here in the United States, well, doesn't Dex Imaging have areas in the country where they just have technicians? Because I read that in an article once. I'll share some more thoughts on that. But isn't Konica saying as long as you can have technicians in the geography across the country, then you could have equipment go in those geographies, right? In other words, you don't even have salespeople. You don't even have offices. You could have technicians living in their houses, making service calls on equipment that you put in geographies all across the country. That's what I'm reading. That's a lot of stuff to think about, right? Ladies and gentlemen, let's go on. I read this article back on June 8th of 2021. June 8th of 2021, Konica Minolta announces final divestiture strategy, and that's when they sold those offices to Dex Imaging. In June. Doesn't the old contract end in June? And the new contract will start? Isn't that June, July timeframe the time that Konica Minolta makes decisions like dumping offices, if you will? Boy, this is all starting to make sense now, isn't it? It sure is to me. Here's an article I found in E&X magazine talking about Dex Imaging acquiring 10 direct branches in the summer of 2021 from manufacturer partner Konica Minolta. I went through that article. I found a paragraph I thought you all would find really interesting. Let me read it to you. In terms of future deals, the Doyles aren't fixated on any particular region of the country. California, where the company only has techs. Think about that. New York and all of New England have yet to be tapped. When it comes to deal making, it's more about bandwidth as opposed to desire. Well, I mean, the Doyles there, they get it. Hey, let's just put techs in certain geographies. That'll increase our bandwidth to provide service. If, in fact, in the summer of 2025, Konica Minolta says, hey, Dex Imaging, we want to give you all the rest of these direct operations across the country, well, then Dex Imaging can say, okay, we're going to take them. Right? I mean, they already sold them 10. Would they not sell them the rest? I'm thinking the Doyles will be ready to buy the rest of them, don't you? Hell, there's a rumor out there, I think I started it, that Dex Imaging will probably acquire All Covered, right? Because now they want to be IT people. Whew. Let's go back to the article in E&X magazine that has to do with this new dealer agreement. Any dealer that inks the new agreement prior to June 30th will be authorized to sell under this modernized model, providing they have techs that can support office products and or production equipment. Having tightly defined geographic models is not a contemporary way of growing your business, Blackbeard noted. What's more, contract quotas, long and measuring stick for performance and distribution management are a thing of the past. It's been replaced with a 90-day cancellation without clause stipulation, but Blackbeard doubts that it would ever be used. Okay, I love the way an OEM says that. Hey, we're going to have a 90-day cancellation without cause, but we doubt we would ever use it. Well, you might not use it, but if you get liquidated, the buyer sure as hell might. That's what I'm thinking. I need distribution. I need dealers to be engaged, but I also needed to give us an out, she said. But this is interesting. Noting retired BTA counsel Bob Goldberg had given the new program his legal blessing. I got to ask a question. Why is Bob Goldberg still blessing contracts? I thought this guy retired. Didn't he retire like 4 times? Does the new BTA lawyer agree with his father on this agreement, on this new dealer contract? Because I think that'd be more relevant. Like the new deal, the new lawyer for the BTA, Bob Goldberg's son, does he agree with his father on this new dealer agreement? Is Konica Minolta is liquidated? Wouldn't the 90-day cancellation clause be beneficial to those buying the KM assets? The director, of course it would. It'd be awesome. You know, somebody gobbles up Konica Minolta's assets. They look at their distribution around the country. Okay, cancel this dealer, cancel this dealer, cancel this dealer, cancel this dealer. We don't need them. It's overflow. We want to get rid of them. I mean, folks, that's what I see out of this. But then again, I'm sure that, you know, ENX Magazine, the folks over at the Canada Report, I mean, when they were on this call, I'm sure they've asked these questions of Konica Minolta. They just forgot to include the answers in their press releases, right? Konica Minolta also announced an Inter-Territorial Program, ITP. Dealers that have forged agreements with customers that have multiple collations, some outside of the dealer's footprint, have long relied on the OEM branches and other dealers to provide installation and service. Now, instead of needing to hammer out pricing agreements with 5 different dealer branches assisting on a sale, for example, dealers who sign on with the ITP can enjoy standardized pricing and avoid the haggling. ITP is the result of collaboration between the manufacturer and its dealer advisory council. Is this the same dealer council that agreed the 90-day cancellation clause? Did they agree on that too? The same people? I mean, was there any arguments about this? I'm hoping so. There will also be an opt-in portal where dealers can log in and use their dashboard to coordinate ITP agreements, keeping all communication and updates in one source rather than relying on emails and phone calls. I got to be honest with you. This ITP thing, I would have thought that would have been in effect like years ago. I mean, we've had national agreements and national contracts in our industry for decades. You mean to tell me Konica Minolta was a big cluster mess? You got to call up and negotiate every time you did a deal? Are you kidding me with this? Wow. Well, I'm glad they did that. But then again, I got to ask this dealer council over there, Konica Minolta, did you all agree on this 90-day cancellation without clause? Because if you did, I don't think you were thinking all the way through it. It goes on. They talked about tariffs. I mean, if you're going to have a presser, you might as well talk about tariffs, the latest buzzword. I did an episode on tariffs yesterday. I think it's a complete distraction for our industry. But since they brought it up, you know, Konica Minolta liquidated the manufacturing facility, that business they had in China. I talked about that a few days ago. But then I've been asking Konica Minolta for a long damn time, what in the hell is your relationship with Nine Star? Because back in August 28th of 2019, the Konica Minolta CEO, the real CEO, the CEO out of Japan that runs the whole Konica Minolta, did an agreement with the chairman of Nine Star. What was this agreement? Where's this agreement at today? How much stuff is still coming out of China? Talked about selling off the manufacturing, but what's left there? Well, I did a little research. There's quite a bit left. This was that business that was liquidated. Konica Minolta Business Technologies, WUXI company. But we still got a lot of operations there in China. And I got a simple question. Does Nine Star or any of its subsidiaries provide equipment or supplies to Konica Minolta? I mean, as we face tariffs, we should know that. What's coming out of China, Konica Minolta? And how much are you buying from Nine Star? Because we all know Nine Star is that PRC company that got banned over the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, right? Thrown out of the U.S. supply chain because they were using forced labor. Remember that? And then we got Konica Minolta in 2019 doing agreements with Nine Star. I keep questioning where the hell's that agreement at. You see, if you're going to have a presser with the industry's media analysts, the industry's media analysts have got to be able to ask you questions, Konica Minolta. Now you all probably know why I never get an invitation to their pressers. Konica Minolta, U.S. Print Industry Press Conference. No questions, we will tell you what to write. That's what it reminds me of. Just like they do in China. There they are, the press release. You know, we're talking to the Chinese Communist Party, don't ask us that. Hey, we'll take you out back and you know, you will never be seen again. Is that really what's going on with the Konica Minolta press releases? Do they emulate the press conferences that we might see in China? That's my last slide. But I will say this, Konica Minolta. I don't think your new agreement is beneficial at all to most of your dealers. I think your new agreement is quite beneficial to anybody that might pick up your assets in a liquidation, because they can cancel the dealers that are in their way. 90 days without any cause. And I also believe it's a fantastic opportunity for the mega dealer. The one or two that wants to put techs all over the country and start taking the service away from maybe the local dealer that's there, because they could get canceled with a 90-day cancellation without clause. Ladies and gentlemen, you have options with manufacturers, you have options with OEMs, all of it. And I would seriously look at all the people you're playing with, because over the next few years, well, there's going to be a whole lot of changes. And right now, in my opinion, and I'm probably not the only one, the worst position OEM we have is Konica Minolta from a financial perspective. And quite honestly, I believe their new dealer agreement, some of this stuff makes sense. But in Konica Minolta's case, I don't think it's about making sense. I think it's about preparing themselves for the company to change in ways a whole lot of our dealer friends, and maybe even that dealer council at Konica Minolta, aren't thinking about. Just some things to think about, because we all know this: status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.